Hello, everybody. I hope you had a good weekend. We're into week 3 of our class, and I hope it's starting to make a little bit more sense to you. A couple of announcements before we get started on today's class. One interesting, if you're on campus, I just got an announcement about this the other day. You probably got it also. But anyhow, these on campus events are a whole lot of fun to go to and can allow you to meet people from other domains that are just as interested in things like data visualization as you are, but maybe from a different domain. And that's really a great opportunity for you. So I encourage you to take advantage of this Love Data uh, symposium put on by Libraries. I think it'll be really interesting to you. So, just a few little announcements. I included a bunch of links in here for the ones that I could do for that relate to our Team Lab 2, the e-commerce one. We're going to look at these pages, and the problem, of course, is that the URL that I get in my browser is going to be different from the URL that you have in your browser. So I can't just, copy and paste URLs like I usually do, but we'll do the best we can. Let me skip ahead a little bit here. Let's look at our Team Lab 2, which is what you'll be working on here. And this is our e-commerce lab. Now, this is the first time you've done a lab with me, so you're probably not used to the formats, and you're certainly not going to be used to what I expect from you, so it's all good. But the way I like to write my labs is to give you a scenario. And that scenario, I think, is really important because I want you to make decisions and to think about things from your own perspective and to be creative. And so, one way that I think works well to go over what the boundaries of creativity are and where I want you to head and what are the main points and things is to give you a scenario, and then as long as the decisions that you make work with that scenario, then I'm fine with it. So the scenario I've given you is that you work for Google in a region/country of your choice. Now, we'll notice that there's like 4 or 5 different variables related to geographic location. One of them is country, one of them is continent, blah blah blah. I want you to feel empowered to use any of those geographic location variables in coming up with your lab here. So Google is reviewing the server load generated by the Google Merchandise Store in your region/country. So what that means is that Google's looking at how busy their web servers are to supply the information for the Google Merchandise Store in your location. And so, can we make the website more efficient? Can we, in the face of increasing traffic, or can we, I don't know, guess maybe cut down on traffic, but nobody really likes to do that. But that's what they're reviewing. So their goal is to find out if they're using their computing resources wisely. They would like to compare the workload generated, that's how much computer resources they're using, in your region or country with a region/country that has a similar workload. So there's the essence. The essence of the lab is to think about workload, and that means visits. It means we don't have metrics from the servers. We don't have that. But what we do have is we have visits, we have page views, we have geographic locations, we have all that kind of stuff about how much interaction the Google Merch Store has with users. And so the essence of this lab is to find 2 regions/country. It doesn't go down to zip code, but however you choose to define that are similar, and then present what kind of workload is generated by and compare the workload generated by those two regions slash countries. And the idea is that Google would look at how much computing resources are used in those two regions that you've presented, and then see if they're similar, if they're different, or whatever, and then make some changes based on whatever they see. But your goal is to come up with the upfront information to help those people find the regions to compare and justify why you think these two regions are similar enough to make it the basis for their comparison. So they would like to compare the workload generated in your region slash country with a region slash country that has a similar workload, so that they can compare the workload generated by the merchandise store in the two regions slash countries. You can pick out any two regions slash countries that you choose. Now, what you would probably do would be find one that's interesting to you and then go out and find one that's similar to that. And so you're probably going to start out by comparing a lot of regions slash countries in kind of a quick fashion, and then looking for the metrics that could tell you if the workloads generated is the same or similar. Let's see. We do not have access to information related to server performance. We don't have that. But your job is to create a dashboard that can be used to compare the workload generated, number of hits, number of users, that kind of stuff, in one region slash country with another region slash country over a 1-year period of your choice. So if you want to go back in time, that's fine. If you want to use really recent data, that's fine. Whatever it is fine. Some of the metrics you might want to include relate to page views. That's the most basic e-commerce metric. How many people look at our site? That's what page views does. Number of transactions. Do the people in the two regions slash countries buy the same amount of stuff, both in terms of the volume of merchandise, which might be a revenue kind of a metric thing, or it might be the number of transactions. So we've got 50 separate transactions for each one of those transactions buys one t-shirt. That would count. You're not so much interested in what people buy. I don't care what they buy, it doesn't matter, as the number of pages they view prior to purchase and the volume of individual purchases, because that gets at the metric, the way that the operations people could compare these two regions. That's what we want. This is for the audience for this lab are the operations people, so that your operations people can find two regions that you have determined to be pretty similar, and then they can go back looking at the server metrics and stuff and determine if these two regions consume the same amount of server resources. You may want to research regions slash countries that are more comparable. You are looking for two that have similar characteristics that lead you to think they would have a similar impact on Google servers. You can work with as small or as large a region slash country as you like. They just need to be comparable in terms of the workload they put on the servers that provide the Google Merchandise Store. Use your creativity to dig into this question. Sorry about that little typo. You should have at least 6 different graphic elements. 6 different. Those can be graphs. They can be tables. They can be text boxes. Whatever you want. I want at least 6. I need to give you some sort of metrics about how much information to put into this. I think 6 graphic elements is kind of as best you can. I can do. Color matters, creativity matters, layout matters, technical accuracy matters. If you make a mistake, that's bad. Don't make mistakes. Now, how are we going to approach this? Well, you've got this First off, your first assignment is to get together with your team and by January 30th, post a revised version of your Azure DevOps project summary that includes your plan for getting this lab done. So go back to what you did for the first assignment and revise it to now include your plan for getting this lab done. Okay? And let's see, what else we got in here? Okay, let me look at some, I've showed you those before. Let's look at some pages. Okay, so this one, so what are the metrics? You know, how are we going to do this? Well, let's go to my browser first. So what data source are we going to use for this? Well, I think the best data source is this one, the GA4 obfuscated data, sample data. Let's see, GA4 obfuscated sample e-commerce. Now, as you can see from my URL, it's got information about my project in it. So, you know, I can't really give you that one. Well, I can, there it is. But it wouldn't do you much good because you wouldn't have access to my project and stuff. But what I did was I searched for GA4 in here and I was able to get to the GA4 obfuscated sample. You'll notice that there's also this one, the Google Analytics sample. And, you know, that's fine, except that it's an older version of Google Analytics. And of course, we want to use the most recent version that we can. Now, what are the tables that are involved with this one? Well, there's only one, and that is called Events 92. And come on, little feller. I think Camtasia just destroys my machine in terms of performance. It just makes it so slow. Come on, little feller, you can do it. All right, let's move ahead. We'll go to other tabs. Maybe that'll work better. Of course, again, maybe it won't. Let me go to this one. This is the, come on. Okay, so how do you work with BigQuery and the Google Analytics data? Well, here's a great reference for you, the BigQuery Cookbook. Now, I shouldn't show you this kind of stuff, but I'm gonna, and I'm gonna show you things like this one. So, you know, e-commerce has a vocabulary all of its own, and you know, you just kind of have to learn the vocabulary to learn how to work with this. And so one of the things that people in e-commerce are really interested in, one concept, is things like bounce rate. Well, what does bounce rate mean? Bounce rate means the number of people that come to your home page. This thing is just destroying my computer. That come to your home page and look at the home page and then click away. That is, you know, really bad from an e-commerce perspective. So that's called bounce rate. The number of people who come to your home page, look at the home page. Well, let me step back. You invest lots of money in advertising to make it so that people come to your home page. And those, you know, somebody does come to your home page. They look at your home page and for whatever reason, just leave. That's incredibly bad because you spent all that money to try and get them to come. Why did they leave? What is it about the page, about the pricing, about, you know, whatever it is that caused them to take the initiative to come to your page, but then leave right away? Well, here is a nice query for doing that. And if I must be truthful, and I must, all you have to do is copy and paste this into the query tab on BigQuery, and then run it, and you got yourself some results. Now, bounce rate I don't know if that's a good one for this lab, but it's certainly an example of how to interact with these pages. So this big query cookbook, I think, is going to be really useful to you in helping you to get started and to find your way around BigQuery and the marketing and all that kind of stuff. So there's that one. Introducing the Google Analytics sample data set for BigQuery. This is a Google vlog and or blog that just kind of goes through how to interact with this and talks about the Google Analytics sample data set and points at a bunch of important metrics that e-commerce people are interested in. Average number of transactions per purchaser, what is the percentage of stock sold per product, what's the average bounce rate per marketing channel segmented by purchasers. These are questions that can be answered with the Google Analytics GA4 data set. But there's some information about some of the issues that e-commerce people are interested in. And as I said right at the beginning of the class, this class is going to be a lot about domain knowledge. And then, with the online section, you guys are going to have to do a bunch of reading on your own and figure these things out. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to point at topics that are important for you. And these are important topics for anyone interested in e-commerce analytics. And of course, the Google Analytics sample data set gives you enough information to do that, to look at these questions, and as well as the background in Google resources and stuff that you can use to learn more about these topics. Here's a Medium.com article about Google Analytics data dashboard on Google Merchandise Store, and you can search for this on Medium.com. Personally, I have a subscription to Medium.com. It's like $50 a year. And you know what? There's a lot of good technology sources out there. This is really set up for technical people. I think there's probably more stuff out there. It's just the recommendations come to me based on my past searches and stuff. But there's always good stuff out on Medium.com. So that's a good way to do it. Good way to find background information. And in terms of YouTube videos, this guy, I like his channel. I think he's a really smart guy. He does good videos. They're fairly succinct, around 20 minutes. And he covers a lot of ground in them. So Loves Data, really has some good stuff in there. Also about stuff like certification and all those things, if that's what you want to pursue. But here's one that came out 2 days ago, Looker Studio Tutorial for Beginners 2024. That's us. That is just perfect for this class. And he's going to do a lot better job of walking you through Looker Studio than I am. So, this is good stuff. So I like, we're really lucky that a guy who does really good videos in YouTube came out with one that's just perfect for us 2 days ago. What could be better than that? So anyhow, take a look at those if you're interested in that, and you will be, because you need to come up with some good layouts and things. Finally, okay, so here's our GA4 obfuscated sample data. This is the events table, and these are the values that you have available to you. And let me just see if I can do this real quick. We'll go out to the BigQuery cookbook. We'll scroll down to all good stuff in there about how to work with BigQuery. and specific date ranges. I think I usually, okay. All right, so here's a interesting one. I'm just selecting it, copying it, going back to my BigQuery interface. I'm going to click on a new query. Let's see, a new tab, that's what I want. Oh boy, is this thing slow. It's Camtasia, it just drives me nuts. Okay, so I've selected the GA4 obfuscated sample events table. And so when I click on a query on it, it's telling me that this is a query of the table that I'm just looking at. And you can see that in here. So BigQuery public data GA4 obfuscated sample e-commerce events, blah, 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 blah. That's kind of like a URL. And so here we've got a URL for what we want to do. Now, a couple of things to look at here is that they've already given us the select query. Remember, in SQL, that's how you determine what resource, what you want to see. And then the last thing we've got on here is this limit 1000. So what that's going to do is that's going to make it so that I don't see all the data. I just see the first 1,000 records that match what I'm interested in. So now I'm going to just paste that query that I copied into here. Now you'll notice that it has its own select query here, and that was just something I copied out of there. Well, I don't want two select queries, so I'm going to get rid of that, and then I'm going to select. So here's my from, and this query is set up for the older table, so I'm going to copy this. Come on, little feller. I need to replace this from with this from. Okay, there we go. So slow. Thank you, Camtasia. This is not BigQuery that's this slow. It's my browser because of Camtasia. Man, I could have typed it faster. You know, I think that I will, and maybe that'll go faster. So BigQuery public data, public-data dot GA4 dot GA4 underscore obfuscated obfuscated sample e-commerce events. Dot events underscore 202.10131. It sure looks like a date to me. Doesn't that look like that to you? Oops, I lost the backtick. Come on. You can see we've got our syntax help up here, and of course it's just complaining about stuff we're trying to delete. So it's just so slow. But like I said, it's not BigQuery, it's my browser. All right, so select device.browser and sum totals.transactions as total transactions from, I must have typed that in wrong. Yeah, I'm not going to bother. It's just too confusing. But, and so I got, let's see, unclose identifier. I bet you they didn't like my backtick. It's probably not a backtick. It's the other one, whatever the other one is called. There we go. Okay, that did it. Okay, invalid project ID. I don't think that. I think that's old. I think that's good to run. Let me see what run does. No, it still doesn't like it. Anyhow, I'm not going to bother with that. Too slow. So here's a way to get started. This is the data set that I suggest that you use for this lab. I gave you some links to different things around here that you can work with. You've got the first assignment to come out of here is that within a couple of days, I want you to have a plan in place for how to deal with this lab. And then you've got a due date of on this lab of, I think it's the 9th of February. And so you've got just over a week to 2 weeks to work on this. And I think it should be kind of fun. Now, you know, let's see if I can show you the export let's see, all right, there's that. And then to explore the data. This is the way that you click over on here and it exports the data to Data Looker Studio, and that's where you can take the results of your query and turn it into nice looking dashboards. And that's what the final part of this assignment is to turn in your lab using nice looking dashboards. So I hope that has given you a little insight into this lab above and beyond just the things that I wrote. And if you have any questions, please let me know. And I look forward to talking to you soon. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.